Welcome aboard, folks, to Your Voice Counts. Thank you very much for listening in. And a very, very special thank you to Katrina Farber, Kat Farber as we call her. She's the gal that produces this show, and with a beautiful, beautiful voice, she sings our songs. She did the show last week with Ron Kukul, a shipmate of mine who was in charge of body recovery on vacation when we reached Malta, June the 14th, 1967. Thank you both for taking over the show, and it is not my show, folks. It's the USS Liberty show. It's all the survivors show. It's my guest today, Walt Waite's show. It's the America show. It's the Saratoga show. It's the USS Davis show. It's the USS Massey show. USS Papago show. It's the people that care about America. It's the people that love America and want right things to happen. Well, they haven't been happening. First, let me get into my guest today, and then we're going to bring you on, Walt, so just hang on. I have to do some USS Liberty business, but I want you to know that my guest today, Walt Waite, joined the United States Navy in 1964 at the age of 17. By the way, I joined at 17 and went to boot camp at 17, but Walt was still in high school at the time. I did not finish high school. I went straight into the Navy. He was called into active duty in January 1967. Reported aboard the aircraft carrier USS America, CVA 66 in Malta, April 1967, which I had the great pleasure of meeting Captain Engen, the skipper of the mighty ship USS America, years back after he got out of the military. Now, Walt served in Vietnam in 68 and was separated from the active duty after his tour. Retired in 2009 as a manager of a large estate near Philadelphia. Walt was asked in 2009 by the incumbent to run for his seat in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, which he almost won. Well, God bless you for trying, Walt, but a lot of people don't. But you did, and because you didn't win makes you no lesser of a person. There's no doubt about that. Walt has served on board of the directors of Locals Chapter of Vietnam Veterans of America, served as the county volunteer coordinator for AARP, have been on the board of directors of the USS America Carrier Veterans Association for 14 years, serving as president, vice president, and secretary. So, Walt, hang on. As I said before, as soon as I finish this Liberty business, I'll bring you right up, and we'll get this show rolling. As I said before, thank you, Kat, Ron, and I also want to thank my dear friend, John Gadesco. John was a former intelligence officer, communications technician aboard the USS Liberty. Great man, and he came up as a white hat and retired as a lieutenant, a very lofty and admirable goal. John's website, tinyurl.com/USS Liberty, tinyurl.com/USS Liberty is the only website to go to if you want to find out anything about the USS Liberty and its related issues. Please go to that site, folks, and support it. It's a great site. You'll learn a lot. I also want to thank Republic Broadcasting Network. I want to thank John Statmiller, as I do every week, for giving me a chance to tell the truth, the real truth, about the murders, the deliberate slaughter of Americans on the high seas by the Zionist State of Israel, June 8, 1967. RBN has a good habit of doing that, getting out the truth. I want to thank Craig, our board operator today, that's doing my radio show. Thank you, Craig. You're doing a fine job. I appreciate it, as I do all people at RBN, hosts, guests, and call-ins. And, folks, as I said before, the reason I do this radio show is not for me. It really has nothing to do with me other than I'm a survivor and want the truth to be told. But the message that I want to get out is that no one should get by with cold-blooded, premeditated murder, not even the Zionist State of Israel. You know, the United States of America left us out there as sitting ducks. They left us out there to be murdered. Help was recalled twice from USS Saratoga. Captain Tully wanted to help us, and he couldn't. I've talked to quite a few of the people off America. Some of them have different views of what happened and what didn't. I had a pilot 3 or 4 weeks ago, Bob Hamill, who was the first to reach our ship from the USS America, and he had quite a different message than some of the other people that I've talked to. But anyway, he was the first person, the first help we got from anybody for 18 hours after the murderous assault on our ship in international waters, as I said before, by the Zionist State of Israel, which murdered 34 of my shipmates, wounded 174 others, including myself, out of a crew of 294. 2/3 were either dead or wounded. Folks, it sounds like we're going to a break. Maybe not. I guess Greg will let me know when we do. But I wanted to let everybody know that, again, that listens to this show, it's their show. It's not my show. And all we're trying to do is get the truth out because, again, no one should be allowed to get by with cold-blooded murder, including Israel. And they've done that since June the 8th, 1967. And our government, the LBJ government, on to this government, and their surrogates, the Congress, that serve at the command of ADL and AIPAC and ICE and all the rest of them, serving Israel rather than serving the people of the United States of America. You know, we've been in several wars, all for the state of Israel. Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran is on their schedule. And it is not something that the United States has no business in. We finally got out of Iraq when George Bush says there's nuclear weapons there was gas weapons, there was this and that, all lies. Even repeated by Colin Powell, one of my favorite people, got in front of Congress and the UN, lied and lied and lied. I lost all respect for that man when he did that, when he knew it was not the truth, and we lost a lot of American blood as well as civilian blood in Iraq, which is a mess right now. That whole country is decimated. As well as Afghanistan. It's decimated. Karzai wants us out of there, and he wants us out of there bad. He's cozying up to the Taliban. Well, that's fine. Let them fight each other and leave America out of it. But no more wars for Israel, folks. No more wars for Israel. And let's get the truth out about the USS Liberty right here on this Republic Broadcasting Network. Real news, real talk, real people, because you can't handle the truth, and that's what this station is about. So I think you understand why I do it, and why I'll continue to do it until the day I'm buried or cremated or whatever happens to me. But it is my goal to make sure that the United States of America does its job as requested by the Congress. Here comes the song, folks. We'll see you in just a minute. Hang on, Walt, and we'll bring you right on. Real news, real talk, real people, RBN, because you can handle the truth. Thank you. Welcome back, folks. Thanks for joining in. Your voice counts on this fine radio station, Republic Broadcasting. And Walt, I'd be remiss if I did not if I did not put this out on the air. It'll just take a second, and then I'll bring you right up. Washington, March 4th, 2014. PR Newswire, United States, and Newswire, March 7th, National Summit to reassess the U.S.-Israel special relationship. That's in parentheses. At the National Press Club Ballroom, will present the following panel presentations. Paul Finley, Janet McCannon, Cynthia McKinney, Delinda Hanley, Stephen Snagowski, Karen Kawatowski, Garth Porter, Brigadier General, retired James J. David, Grant F. Smith, Ernie Gallo, USS Liberty survivor, Mark Perry, M.E. Spike Bauman, Stephen Walt, Jeffrey Warrow, John Quigley, Allison Weir, Jeff Blankford, Alan Brownfield, Justin Raimondo, Scott McDonald, Philip Weiss, Michael Schur, Paul Pillar, Ray McGovern, and Philip Giraldi. Many of these people, most of them I've had on my radio show. So, Walt, you're in good company. Welcome aboard. Your voice counts. What brings you here today?
Thanks, Phil. Good talking with you. I'm interested in the story of the Liberty and making people aware of it. And I want to thank you for this opportunity to have me on here.
It's my pleasure, Walt. It's my extreme pleasure to have anybody that was there in the area and knows what happened. And just go ahead and give us your story and your thoughts, Walt, of your feelings, your heartfelt feelings, and we'll go from there.
Well, it was leading up to the Six-Day War. We knew what was going on. We were getting reports every day in our ship's newspaper about what Israel was doing and how lopsided everything was. And then in the afternoon of June 8th, the ship sounded general quarters. And it was the first time I had heard general quarters sounded where they actually said, "This is not a drill." And right away you begin to wonder what this is all about. Obviously, none of us knew what was going on. And at the time, I had only been on the ship just 2 months. I was still mess cooking in the CPO mess. And I made my way from there up to my general quarters station, which was on the O3 level in a passageway. I was part of a firefighting team. And I came out of the island through a hatch going into the hangar bay. But before I could do that, there was a Marine on the other side who came down with an M1 and a bayonet, pointed the bayonet at me, stopped, I don't know, about 6 or 8 inches from my chest, and wouldn't let me pass. And I realized I couldn't go this direction. I'd have to find another way. But as I was pulling the hatch closed and stepping back, I looked behind him, and he was standing in front of 4 A4 Skyhawks. And next to each A4 was a yellow bomb cradle. And sitting in each bomb cradle was a red and white bomb that was roughly about 4 feet long. And I knew, even only being around for a couple months, I knew everything, all the bombs I had seen at that point were big and green. And it hit me all at once. I thought, oh my God, whatever's going on, we got the nukes out. And so now I make my way back to my GQ station, and I sit there for I don't know how many hours, not knowing what is going on, knowing that the nukes are out and appear to be being loaded onto these planes, and not knowing what the outcome of this is going to be. It wasn't until after we were released from GQ, which, like I said, it had to have been 3 hours that we were on GQ. And then you start talking with people, rumors start flying, and all kinds of things. We got word that one of our ships was attacked. We got word that it was attacked by the Israelis. Nobody knew what condition the ship was in. Nobody knew how many people were killed or wounded, if any, or what the circumstances were. So everything kind of remained in that limbo state until the next morning when we came alongside Liberty. And seeing her, I remember coming up, my compartment was aft, not far below the flight deck. And I ran out of the compartment, came up a ladder, and made my way to the catwalk on the port side. And Liberty was about a mile, maybe a mile and a half away. And seeing that ship was just, it was incredible. Because here I am, at this point, I'm 20 years old, and, I'm in the Navy, I'm halfway around the world, I'm on an aircraft carrier, my gosh, things can't get much better. And all of a sudden, the Liberty is in front of us. And now all of a sudden, the whole thing became real. That for whatever reason, this war that was going on a couple hundred miles to the east of us was hitting home. And I remember seeing the ship listing to starboard. We thought it was listing about 15 degrees. It may have been less. I'm not sure. I remember seeing the hole in her starboard side from the torpedo. And I remember seeing all the holes in the superstructure and in the deck. And for whatever reason, I started counting them and very quickly realized it was impossible. There were just too many to be able to count. I remember seeing parts of the superstructure were black from the fires. And I do not remember seeing a single person on deck. I don't know what the circumstances were. I don't know if that was the case or that's just my memory, but I don't remember seeing a single person on deck. I remember the helicopters going back and forth. And they were bringing the wounded over. We had sent, as soon as we were within range, we had sent helicopters with our medical teams over to Liberty to do triage. And then as the ship got closer, we started bringing the wounded back. And I remember one kid, I do not know his name, came on board. They took him off the helicopter in a stretcher, and he had a steel pot sitting on his chest. The larger steel helmet that he would use with the sound power fins underneath. He got hit in the head with a shell, and that pot saved his life, and he would not give it up for anything.
Walt, we're going to go to a break here in just a few seconds.
All right,
your story is very heart-wrenching, and it is the truth. You were there. And, folks, support your sponsors, Real News, Real Talk, Real People, RBN, because you can't handle the truth. And today, our board operator is Manny. Sorry, Manny, I thought Craig was doing it. My apologies. Talk to you later. On Your Voice Counts, certainly do appreciate it. And as I said before, we've had a lot of great guests, and Walt is one of them. We appreciate you giving us time on your Saturday, and it kind of chuckled me up a little bit when you said you were mess cooking. Well, I did my mess cooking too, but I didn't do it for 5,000 people, so I can't imagine what you had to do.
I only did it for about 120 chiefs.
Oh, okay. Well, that's less than what I had to do. But, yeah. The USS America and Massey, and of course the Davis, brought us into Malta. But did you have any, the crew, the scuttlebutt aboard the crew, did you have any thoughts of why America's supposed ally would try to sink and murder 294 souls in international waters on June the 8th, 1967. Have you thought about that then or over the years, which I'm sure you have? But what are your thoughts about it today?
Well, at the time, I mean, we didn't have a clue what was going on, and even, gosh, I mean, even after we got back to the States and then went to Vietnam and everything, we still had no clue as to why this happened. Although we did see the almost identical situation play out again. Just what was it, about 8 months later with the USS Pueblo in Korea, and over the years, you know, we try to learn, and I like to kind of think I got a little wiser, but I've done a lot of reading. I know there are 2 books that were written on the subject, at least 2 that I know of. And every once in a while I go back through my 1967 cruise book and I look at the pictures and read the story in here, and it, I mean, there's a lot of things that we know. We know that Israel knew it was an American ship. They were flying over the ship for, 8 hours?
Yeah, approximately 8 hours, sure.
And we know that there was radio communication where one of the pilots emphatically stated that it was an American ship. And the attack was carried out. And almost as fast as the attack was carried out, the whole thing began to be hushed up. There are people today that I talk with that have no idea there was ever an attack on one of our ships by the Israelis. And you start to absorb all this information and put pieces together. And I mean, you know, the crew of the Liberty was taken back to Naples, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, we went to Malta, Walt.
Was it in Malta or was it in Naples where the crew was asked to sign non-disclosure statements?
Well, that could be possible for the wounded. I stayed with the ship and brought her home. I was one of the walking wounded, but
okay.
We went into Malta. A lot of the guys went into Naples or Germany or wherever. They spread everybody out, but yeah, they were all told to shut up. You're absolutely correct.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong, they were scattered to the wind.
Yes.
The crew was just sent everywhere, and I don't think 2 people went to the same place.
Well, there was one of my shipmates that they even gave him a different name, if you can believe that.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't want him anybody to know who he was or how badly he was wounded. Because there were so many men that were wounded so severely. I'm sure you saw some of them, Walt, that they brought aboard your great ship USS America that were wounded so badly you could barely even look at them. And it was a horrible sight, and the saddest part in my life, and in my memory for the crew and the 34 Americans that were slaughtered that day is the government refused to send help to us when they knew we were under attack. Now listen, this wasn't your captain's fault. Captain Engen, which, as I said before, I had the pleasure to meet, and Captain Tolley of the USS America, and many other fine gentlemen of the United States Navy. But you know,
as a matter of fact, what we heard on board was that Captain Engen and the Admiral were highly ticked off at Washington for calling back the planes twice.
Absolutely, absolutely, and as was Bob Hamill, one of your crewmen aboard the ship that flew a helicopter. Those rescue helicopters, the pilots and their crew members, they gave their lives every day, and they were just great people. And we certainly appreciated your help and your consideration. And we do have a caller, but before I forget, I just want to say this sincerely, and it comes from the heart. I'll never forget as your big, beautiful, wonderful ship departed Liberty, the 3 hip hip hoorays you gave to the crew of the USS Liberty, and it came across through the ocean, slammed on the water on the sides of the bulkhead, was something that I'll never ever forget. But I want to get to one of your shipmates that was aboard the USS America and has done everything he can do to get the truth out that I know of, is George Sokol. George, thanks for joining in on Real News, Real Talk, Real People, because you can't handle the truth. Welcome your shipmate aboard, please, if you would, Walt.
Hey, George, how are you?
Hey, pretty good. When you were talking about that Marine with the bayonet, he was guarding my ass. I was in the cockpit of one of those A4s.
Is that right?
Waiting to move it.
Wow.
And,
I never did get to see if anybody was in the cockpit. So all I saw was the bayonet.
No, you couldn't, because the seats were lowered, and an A4 doesn't have any electricals in it until the engine's running, so you couldn't raise it. So if you could have seen anything, it would have been my hairline, and that would have been about it.
Yeah.
But
see, you can tell from that I was ship's company.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely an Airedale. But one thing that I forgot to bring out when I've been on the show is while I was in the cockpit, the Marine kept getting updates, and we had some helicopters that were anti-sub warfare,
right?
And every time one of them took off, I heard about it. So you imagine what it's like sitting on a nuke, expecting another one to come in and say hi to me.
Yeah. Now, George, were those loaded or were they just sitting there and go back? When all this happened, did they happen to be sitting there and go back to the armory, or were they actually loaded on board your aircraft?
No, they were on 6 aircraft, three A4, 2 Phantoms, and one RB-5 Vigilante.
Wow.
And the Vigilante, you couldn't tell because the bomb was loaded in the tail cone. And when they went to launch it, they had to go vertical, and then they took a dump. And I'll guarantee you, whatever they pointed at, it hit.
Yeah.
And the A4s and the F4s were loaded and ready to go. There was no question. Anytime we were at sea, they were on those planes.
Folks, listen, guys. I hate to break in, but we got 2 guys that are calling in, and I always want to get everybody on. Please, forgive me, but I got to bring on Ron Kukl right away, and then we're going to get to Richard Phil, who was on the Saratoga. Ron, welcome, shipmate. Welcome aboard, and thanks for doing my show last week.
Yeah, it's no problem, Phil, and it's been exciting working with Kat. I just called in today with no particular reason other than I just kind of rub elbows with a couple of guys off the America, the Saratoga. Who knows what's going to come next? How you doing, guys? I'm just here just saying I have to rub elbows with you guys. Yeah.
Well, listen, we got the music coming on. We're going to be back in a minute. Richard, don't go away. Thanks, Ron, for calling in. Real News, Real Talk, Real People, RBN, because you can't handle the truth. Oh, by the way, support your sponsors. See you in a minute. Welcome back, folks. Thank you very much for listening to Your Voice Counts on RBN. We don't have a whole time left, but I wanted to get Richard Phil in. He was aboard the Mighty Sarah, and I talked to his captain in person several times, Captain Joe Tully. What a hell of a man, what a great man. And he informed me that, Phil, I tried to help you. We sent 2 volleys of aircraft off the Saratoga, and they were called back. What's your reaction to that, Richard?
We talked before, and I couldn't believe that these planes came back. When they landed back on there, the pilots came out, were so ticked off that they literally slammed their helmets on the flight deck. And a good thing that Walt brought up, I'm going maybe about 3 days, I'm talking probably maybe about June 4th or June 5th. I was up on the flight deck, and I walked by, and there was a couple A4s sitting up there that had nuclear weapons also, the same as America. Now, why we were sitting there with planes with the nuclear weapons, who knows what their intentions were. So I went and took a few pictures with my camera back then, and all of a sudden the Marines were in my face, took my film out of my camera and told me that we weren't allowed to take pictures of any aircraft on the flight deck. Also, at the same time, all of our F-4 Phantoms were loaded up with Sidewinder missiles that were already, they were live because a few of my friends who worked in ordnance had the fuses in there. But so this went on. This is like 3-4 days before the attack on the Liberty. So this didn't just come out of nowhere. And obviously our government's lying to us. And also, like you mentioned, I got up early, of course, being on the Saratoga, and couldn't ask for a nicer day, beautiful day. And how they could come out and literally lie and say that they didn't say you put your flags up there, and you flew your colors. They flew around all day long, and how our government could let them fire on your ship. And of course, the Albany Game McNamara, you can go up to John McCain's father also. He was involved in this whole scheme. They just wanted to sink your ship. They wanted no survivors. And the idea, you brought up a good point. Everything that's going on in the Middle East, my nephew came back from Afghanistan, and he said, what a bunch of crock of what's going on there. He said, they'll say one thing on the news here in the States, and nothing like that's even happening. I mean, they're really buffalo the people into believing what's going on. We're told one story on through our media, and like my nephew said, it's totally opposite. Like you are, bring our truth back. We didn't belong in Iran. They lied to us, took care of big business. We don't belong in Afghanistan. Get our troops back out of these Middle East countries and quit fighting these wars for Israel. I go up to New York, and I even see the people up around the Supreme Court down on the center street, right down, matter of fact, right up from Ground Zero. And you had the Jewish people protesting against their own government. I mean, people need to wake up, but the media, of course, will cover everything up. And why our government won't come out and actually go into this. And they're looking at it, well, hey, we're getting older, we're all up in age. Eventually, we'll all be gone, and that'll be the end of it. But how people in this country have no idea what happened on June 8th, 1967. Like, I probably wear my shirt everywhere. I go up to Ground Zero on September 11th. I draw a crowd where the police actually make me leave when I start talking about the Liberty. I go everywhere. I'll post pictures, of course, on Facebook with my shirt. I go up to West Point, I wear it. And I try to get the truth out. And we need more people to really look into it. Plus, like I say, buy the shirts, read the book that you put out, and really find out what's going on. I just wish people would wake up, and it's come to a point, well, oh, well, that's a long time. They look at it as a long time ago. Well, hey, it's still going on today.
Go ahead.
There's one thing that makes a lot of sense, and it took me a while to begin to see this, and actually, in fact, my short experience with politics was a very good eye opener. I think we have to keep in mind that when this was all taking place, Lyndon Johnson was still a candidate for for another term, and a lot of the support for a Democratic presidential candidate in this country, a lot of financial support comes from members of the Jewish religion, and I think it would make sense to me that if, under the circumstances, you have a supposed ally in Israel attacking one of our ships, and the Navy is right there, and they're launching aircraft and going to our defense, and all of a sudden the realization hits in Washington that, hey, wait a minute, this is supposed to be our ally, and if we go after Israel in defending USS Liberty, what is that going to do to my campaign finances as I approach the election?
Sure, I can see your side on that. Yeah, but for me, for an American president to really come on and say, I'm going to give it down to the ship, exactly what you're saying to McNamara, I mean, how can you do that to your own military? I mean, it's it's unheard of. It sickens me, actually. And people say, well, that was 1967. I say, the day I die, I will never give up talking about this to people.
No.
Because I'm not sweeping this under the rug. And I know you don't either. Like the Davis and the Massey, they were out about you were stationed out of Mayport. And I remember being about a flight deck, all of a sudden seeing America come up alongside, like, go even said with Joe Tully. I mean, Joe Tully went and launched the planes back. Of course, they won't come out and say it, but they threw him out of the Navy. Exactly what they did to the guy. They broke this guy's heart. You couldn't have met a better person than Joe Tully for a captain. And he wanted to save the men on the Liberty, and he paid the price for it. They literally threw him out of the Navy because of it. And then like I told Phil, we went up to through the Bay Creek. They took the Liberty up to Valletta, Malta. And like I told him, why wouldn't they just take you somewhere close, even up to Valletta, Malta? Well, it was a longer trip up to Malta. I know darn well they probably said, well, hey, it's a longer trip. Maybe the ship will sink. The story will be closed. End of the story. Well, it made it to Malta. Then he patched it up to make it look like it was like nothing ever happened. And plus all the crew members, split them all up, told them to keep their mouths shut. Even on the Saratoga after it happened, we were told not to say anything. I stepped on the 03 level F like you did, and there were planes coming in at nighttime bringing in the survivors from the Liberty. But we were just told to keep our mouths shut, like nothing ever happened. And that's a pretty bad situation. Like I was a 21-year-old kid at the time, and I couldn't believe that something like this could happen, but it did happen, And it's a shame, like there's no president that will bring this up, and it's a shame. Well, even covered up with the 4 men that were buried in Arlington Cemetery, said killed in the Eastern Mediterranean. That could have been a taxi accident. Well, he finally did come out and put about the Liberty, and then the gunner, the captain. You give him the Medal of Honor in a hangar in Washington. The president's supposed to give it to him at the White House. I mean, what's up with that? The first time in the history of the country, you give a Medal of Honor to a military person in a hangar, but they did it. Everything was so hush-hush, and I'll tell you, it sickens me to no end. And like Phil and I talked about it, I try to get out as much as I can. And, you're down around Philadelphia, I guess, from what you were saying.
Hey guys,
Yes.
Here comes me to thank each and every one of you for your contribution to the truth about what happened aboard the USS Liberty. But it could have just as easily happened to you, and it did happen to all of America when Israel committed a war act against the United States of America. They did it to all of us, and shame on them, and shame on the Congress then and now. God bless all you gentlemen. It's my pleasure to meet you, and I'll get you back on there.